Absolutely, Courtney. The last update that we had at 4 o'clock, that's when we saw the downgrading of this storm from a Category 4 to a Category 3, which is still a major hurricane at Category 3. So this is the 4 o'clock stats where this could update any second while I'm in the middle of this, but winds 125 miles per hour. This is the important part. It's moving northeast at 17 miles per hour. And we have been talking about the track. We would like to see the track a little bit more easterly because that will kind of bring it away from Tampa Bay. But northeast at 17 miles per hour, you'll notice since it's little less than 100 miles away from the mouth of Tampa Bay, that really has sped up our time for landfall. We were initially saying overnight into early Thursday morning. Well, guess what? We'll have landfall as early as 9 p.m. at this rate. Now, the storm can slow a little bit ahead of landfall. These systems typically do that, but moving northeast at 17 miles per hour with less than 100 miles to go, we absolutely can have landfall within the next 4 to 5 hours here. So here's the recent track. There's Milton, very close to the coastline. And by the way, landfall, we wait for the center of that eye to be perpendicular with land. And that's when we can officially say that we have landfall. So we're a couple hours away from that. But you see that the track brings it right into Sarasota and Manatee County. And there's little margin for error at this time, about 25 miles, 50 miles margin for error, meaning that the landfall spot can change a little bit. Right now, we know the county, Sarasota and Manatee County, where this likely will make landfall. And again, if we have that easterly change, we like to see that here in Tampa Bay. But no matter how we look at it, somebody is going to have major impacts from this hurricane. So here's the track over the last few hours here. You can see in the recent update at 4 o'clock, we had that downgraded to the Category 3 storm. Still a high-end Category 3, I should mention. This maroon box that you see here, which extends over a large portion of the peninsula, that would be a flood warning. And I know the colors are very similar here, but the bright red is when we have those tornado warnings, which we did see earlier today, and those far outer bands that were troublesome. Thankfully, those far outer bands are moving away from our area, and now it's becoming more of a flash flood threat, and that's why we do have that flood warning that's in effect. So be aware that we still have heavy bands of rain moving through the region. Also, we're starting to get high wind reports, and we just got a message from the National Weather Service not too long ago that they're actually going to start issuing extreme wind reports, or extreme wind warnings, I should say, EWW. That's something you don't see every day as a meteorologist. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to, areas that have the threat of winds greater than 115 miles per hour, as that eye wall gets a little bit closer, they're going to start issuing those wind reports. So right now, winds, the largest gusts that we've seen with this storm, about 100 miles away off the coast from Tampa, at Albert Whitted, we had a 63 mile per hour gust. And that's a typical thunderstorm gust if you want to break it down. A severe thunderstorm warning would be issued with a 65 mile per hour gust. Of course, this is a tropical system, and those gusts, that's just the threshold. We will have much stronger winds as the storm gets closer. We're just waiting for that landfall time. The gusts kind of go down from there, 54 miles per hour, St. Pete Clearwater Airport, Sarasota, Bradenton, 53 mile per hour gust, going all the way down to Tampa at a 39 mile per hour gust. Now the tides, notice I'm going to step off screen here so you can see. Low tide today for St. Pete was 2:04 p.m. High tide tomorrow morning is just before 6 a.m. So this is helping us just a little bit because we want lower tide for that surge, right? That will lower our surge numbers. Still expecting surge that can be just devastating to some communities, especially communities that have already been hit by a major hurricane 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. Siesta Key, also, the low tide was early this morning. So the high tide is a little bit earlier tomorrow morning than what we're seeing in St. Petersburg. Tomorrow, their high tide is around 3 a.m. So we definitely want this storm to keep the speed that it's going right now. Some local impacts here, and again, these can change. I have tweaked them just a little bit recently. So now through 6 a.m. for Citrus, Hernando, Pasco County, we're looking at winds 75 to 110 mile per hour winds possible. Of course, that 110 mile per hour wind, that would be for those gusts as that storm nears closer. Areas like Hudson, Newport Richey, Pine Island, across the coastal communities, of course, you will be hit the hardest there. Now, you are on the north side of the storm, so our main concern for these communities would be that rain, 8 to 12 inches of rainfall, flash flooding likely. And although you're not technically in that flood warning, the flood warning is a little bit south of you guys, I would not be surprised if they did extend that flood warning once those outer bands started moving into your region a little bit more. So that's for our northernmost counties. Heading down to Hillsborough and Pinellas County. So now through 6 a.m., we will have those winds 65. I'm going to bump that up to 115 miles per hour. And again, that's at gust. And we are waiting for those wind warnings to be issued by the National Weather Service. 6 to 10 inches of rain. Some spots definitely could get higher than 6 to 10 inches. And then the surge, again, the surge numbers around 9 to 13 feet. I think they did drop that down to 8 to 12 feet, though, and we will see if that changes with the 5 p.m. advisory. And then landfall tonight will likely be south of Tampa Bay. And we have a 5 o'clock advisory. All right, so we're getting some new numbers here. I want to see if I can jump back to my timeline here. Of course, the biggest impacts will be around Manatee and Sarasota County. And Chris is bringing up the latest stats on Milton right now. Okay, so it looks like the wind speed is now at 120. So it is still a Category 3, a high-end Category 3 hurricane at this time. It was 125. It's still moving northeast at 17 miles per hour. Chris, did you notice? It looks like that pressure did increase.
I think it's up 3 millibars.
Okay, so the pressure is up 3 millibars, so that means that the storm is weakening. When the pressure is lowering, when that number gets lower, that means the storm is strengthening. And currently, it's about 170 miles southwest of Orlando. So it looks like our local area was updated. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of a track. So it's less than 100 miles away from Tampa right now. And I want to see if I can zoom in on the eye here and see if I can get a track for you guys just to see how far away the storm is. So we know at 4 o'clock it was about 100 miles away. Let's see, I'm just going to zoom in, so just bear with me.
Miles,
6
southwest of Sarasota.
All right, so Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskin
refresh it.
jumping in here, and it's about 60 miles west-southwest, excuse me, of Sarasota. So, and it looks like my computer's freezing out on me.
Why don't you go ahead and take weather 2? I can handle that one.
All right, so Bobby's going to jump on here. Weather 2 is up. And what you're looking right now is we're getting that 5 o'clock update in. If you guys could put up weather 2 for us.
She's got it. She's got it. She's got it. That's it. So 120, 948. It was 945 or 944. Not much up more. But the next one, the important one here, is going to be the track. And we did get a new track with that as well. And so that will basically put it, well, it's not much of a different track, but that'll put it right across Sarasota. Sarasota, right in here. It's more right up towards Bradenton, a little south of Bradenton, right? And then moving off. 90 mile per hour winds after 2 a.m. So earlier, landfall was 2 a.m. Now you can see it's over Lakeland at 2 a.m. And then by 2 p.m., it's well off the East Coast. So that has sped up as we anticipated. You can see the forecast models are still trying to keep this thing a little bit further to the north of that track. This is the deal. So this is what we're looking at now, and you can see basically here's their forecast track. They've still got a little bit lower, but where is this going? And that's what we want to see. So let me kind of get a little bit closer on here, and we'll zoom in because that center is just off towards the west there, and it is not far at all. So there is and this is what I'm concerned about, that part right there. And there's a spot right out in here. I just clocked 138 mile per hour winds in that one spot. That's up above the ground. That is not on the ground, but that's in the strong part. What that tells you is that the strong part where the winds are is going to be on the north side of this eye wall. And this is going to go like this, right up the mouth of the bay. Anna Maria, Bradenton, Palmetto, Ruskin. National Weather Service is that little circle that's right there. That's Ruskin. Waimama, Sun City Center. I think the highest winds are probably going to end up going right over those locations. That's likely where we'll get that excessive wind warning. and that will be coming out here soon. And then, of course, you're going to get it back down further. Let me, you got to grab my eyes that I left over here on the town. Not used to having to do that, but nowadays, got to get my glasses going here. The velocity, that way I can show you what I was looking at. You see that pink area out there? Now, this is looking up in the atmosphere a little bit. Not a whole lot. But that's showing 133 mile per hour winds in this little section right in here, just that one little area. It's obviously less in here, but that's the business end of this hurricane right there, okay? And so we want to track exactly where that's going to go. Now, that wind will be a northeast wind, right? And that's good news for the surge in the bay because that blows the water out. So if you were here for Irma, Irma went right up over here. It kind of went right up east of Arcadia, right up over Lakeland. We had a northeast wind, blew the water out. Manatees stuck in the bay until the water came back up, right? People walking in the bay. We didn't have the winds in Irma that we're going to have in this. We will have more wind for that out of the north and the east as it goes by. In fact, it'll be southeast, east, northeast as it all goes by. But guys, that is a ton of wind out there, and that's going to do the damage with trees down, power outages, all of that stuff. This whole section in here is the one that's really going to do that, okay? The problem is you're going to get these winds increasing here out of the south and the east, right? From this direction to there. And then all of a sudden that weakens your trees, it weakens the things, and then this part comes in, and the wind now is coming from the northeast, and something that was blown over like this, now it gets blown over like that, and it's already weakened. And so we tend to see damage more so on the backside because the front side weakened it, the backside tends to take it down. So I would imagine that as we go, we got 5 o'clock now. This is, let's do some math here, and I'll show you just the regular radar. This is about, let's see the leading edge of this. From Bradenton is about 40 miles, moving to the northeast at 17 times 3. It's a little less than that. So we're talking 2.5 hours for this to get to Bradenton and AMI. And that'll put us at about 7:30. All right, so between now and then, the winds will do nothing but increase. You'll have some waves, well, it comes down a little bit, but overall it will come up. And then we're really going to start to see it, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. We've got our crews right now. Basically, most of them will be in by 7 p.m. That's kind of the estimate time that I told them. But I think that's going to be a good number for at least the immediate coast. May have to be a little bit later if we want, but we just want to keep everybody safe, so probably going to be 7. But that's going to be the bulk of it, 7 p.m. through 11 p.m. of that moving through the area.
Hey, Bobby, I have a question.
Yeah.
We're talking about the surge, we're looking at these winds. What about people who are maybe looking at this and going, oh, okay, so now here I am above that Bradenton line, right? And okay, whew. But it's not that because of that northwest area kind of.
Yes, because of this right here.
Yeah, so what do we?
So these people that in and around the water are relieved because it looks like that will have less surge, right? In fact, it will have a negative surge is what we call it. I think before that gets here, the water levels will come up. They've started to come up already, and that's from the southeasterly wind that we've seen. So there are some spots that are, because the wind speed will pick up, there are some spots that will see southeast winds and higher winds, which means higher water, especially like downtown St. Pete. I don't think it'll be terrible, but it's certainly going to come up. But then to your point, the surge is not as bad, but, the center's coming in down here, or down towards Sarasota. Well, we're in Tampa, we're fine. You've got the stronger part of the storm, at least wind-wise, coming over top of you. And it's going to be that stretch right in there. And that'll go, parallel in I-4, so that's Fishhawk, that's Plant City, that's all those areas right out through Lakeland as well.
Laid out there, and we do have a camera at our station, which is keeping an eye on things because we're on the inland waters of Tampa Bay. So that's a bit of a good barometer for what's happening in the bay. We get a sense if the water is rising in our parking lot or